Back when we made our Orzhov commander Neva, we themed it around sagas, special types of enchantments that count down and give you some value every single turn. And then they released the Final Fantasy set, which introduced saga creatures after I was done recording the video. So to answer your question, yeah, those saga creatures would go pretty hard in Neva. But what if we added one more color to spice things up? We could make an enchantment deck themed around all of the great saga creatures in Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering, except for the ones that are green or blue. I know that there are great 5-color saga commanders, what with that new Terra, or even Tombus Bombus Dill from Lord of the Rings. But I always think 5-color decks end up being very cumbersome, and 3 colors just feels better to me. Also, those two are already way too popular, so we can't do them here. So hey everybody, let's do sagas again. Ghen Arcanum Weaver is a Mardu commander, because Mardu, what font don't? It's a red mana, it's a white mana, it's a black mana for something. For a 2/3, but who cares about the stats? I'm all about that activated ability. If you pay 1 red mana, 1 white mana, and 1 black mana, you can tap Ghen to sacrifice an enchantment, and then get an enchantment out of your graveyard, letting you play whatever enchantments in your graveyard again. Fun fact, this guy was already going to be the Mardu commander before all of these wonderful saga creatures from Final Fantasy came out, because I think sagas are neat. I think they're underrepresented, and I don't think people play them enough because they're silly. Additionally, I should say, much like in the Neva video, sagas do run into a little bit of an issue where you kind of show everyone what you're planning to do over the next few turns and give them plenty of time to remove that problem. But one of the reasons Ghen is so great is if they do destroy your enchantment, you can just bring it back again. So, with that in mind, let's look at some of my favorite summons from the Final Fantasy set. Bahamut is very expensive, both in mana, costing 9 colorless, and in dollars, real world dollars. But I really don't expect that price to stay. Yeah, I get it. Bahamut is good. He's a 9/9 with flying. He destroys a permanent when he comes in. He destroys a permanent on the next turn. He draws you 2 cards, and then he mega flares, hitting every opponent right in the face with an amount of damage equal to the total mana value of all of your permanents. That's spicy. It also takes 4 turns to happen and costs you 9 mana to get him out. Obviously, we're never going to pay 9 mana. We're going to try and cheat him out of the graveyard, but still, he's an enchantment and a creature, which means enchantment removal can remove him and creature removal can remove him. So he's very easy to get rid of, and if you're at a commander table, there are 3 other people who are going to remove him. Maybe he's bigger in standard, where there's only 1 person with 1 level of interaction, but at a commander table, I don't know that it's all that scary, really. I mean, obviously, if you get it to the end, you win, but I don't think you're going to get it to the end all that much, unless you have read ahead, which I guess let's read ahead into the deck list and skip talking about some Final Fantasy characters, because we have to talk about Doctor Who instead. Barbara Wright was like 20 cents when I put her in Neva, and now she's $5 because she gives all of your sagas read ahead, which means you can start on any chapter of the saga, which means as soon as Bahamut hits the board, you can just get that big mega flare. And that is very good. It's also 1 card. And if you're looking for 1 card in your deck, that's some Yu-Gi-Moto bullshit. Yeah, it could happen. Sure. But like, is it super likely that it happens? I don't know so much. Good card, definitely worth having in the deck. Because not just with Bahamut, Barbara Wright makes all of your sagas into basically modal sorceries. Modal being a sorcery that you can choose 1 or more options on. Not always 1 or more. Sometimes it's 1 or more. Sometimes it's just 1, and sometimes it's 1 or more. Sometimes it's all. Sometimes, whatever. Back to the Final Fantasy summon, Knights of the Round makes you 3 2/2 knight creatures on the first turn, on the second turn, on the third turn, and on the 4th turn, he rested. Nope, he makes more knights. I counted wrong. On the 5th turn, every creature you control gets +2/+0 and gets an indestructible counter put on them. Nope. On the 5th turn, each creature you control gets +2/+2, and you put an indestructible counter on it. Knights of the Round is also indestructible, and it's a 3/3. This one's harder to remove, because anything that says destroy doesn't work. You gotta exile this sucker, which unfortunately also means that he's harder to get back with Ghen, because Ghen can't get things from exile. This is straight up in the Shadow Realm, to make another Yu-Gi-Oh reference. A game I haven't played. Do not try and ask me about Yu-Gi-Oh. I do not know about it. Primal Odin destroys a creature an opponent controls. On part 2, it gets whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, they lose the game. Quite funny. And then part 3, a little less climactic. You draw 2 cards, and everyone loses 2 life. If you can sneak this guy behind enemy lines, it's pretty funny. To just kill someone, it's not actually that funny. It's kind of just mean. Summon Kujata is a 7/5 with trample and haste. As it comes in, it does 3 damage to each of 2 target creatures, doing a little double lightning bolt. Part 2 stops up to 3 creatures from blocking this turn, so you can swing in a full 7/5, no blocks required. Or Odin, if you had Odin out, and then kill someone. Part 3 has you discard a card to draw 2 cards, and then you deal damage equal to that mana value of the card you discarded. And that's to each opponent, so that's a big old blast. Oh, but this costs mana? No, it doesn't. It costs 3 mana. The last one I have in here is Brynhildr. Brynhildr? I don't know, some German nonsense. When it comes into play, you exile the top card of your library, and you can play that card any turn that you put a lore counter on a saga, which for this deck should be every turn. Now this guy only costs 2 mana, but that's because we do need some enchantments to sacrifice to get our bigger boys. So this one goes in the wood chipper. Sorry, Brynhildr. There are a lot of other saga creatures that you could put in your deck, and they would all be kinda good. Because something I forgot to mention with Ghen is that you can sacrifice at instant speed, which means that when you hit that last lore counter and you're supposed to sacrifice your enchantment, you can tap again before the sacrifice step happens and still get the 3rd ability while also getting the value of sacrificing that saga. It's weird, funky dunky technical terms, but yeah, it works. I checked with resident rules judge Ember in the Discord. Thank you, Ember. Appreciate you. For other sagas, we have some old friends from Neva. We've got Braids' Frightful Return, you might remember. Fall of the First Civilization. Genesis of the Daleks. One Ring to Rule Them All, which actually gets way funnier in this deck because you can choose one of your big beefy summon creatures as your ring bearer to make everyone mill like a bunch of cards, which also helps you out in a major way we'll talk about in a second, because I want to keep things kind of put together into like sections of the video. I don't do a very good job of it because I'm pretty cool. Birth of Meletus is a great way to get a land out of your library. Creation of Avacyn is a great way to get Barbara Wright onto your board since it tutors. Tutors a little slowly, but it tutors. Eldest Reborn is just some mean shenanigans, but it's also a reanimate on the 3rd chapter to get you an extra saga creature out of the graveyard. 3 Blind Mice lets you make the Mouse Factory. The Mouse Factory is in this deck. It's alive and well, meaning we've got other pieces like Romana, Ian Chestertan, and Ondu Spirit Dancer. All of these cards are also good for other reasons, with Ondu Spirit Dancer making 2 of whatever enchantment hits the board first on your turn. Ian Chesterton letting you double up some of your smaller sagas, or if you just have a ton of mana for whatever reason, a bunch of your bigger sagas. Romana can copy tokens, and yeah, ideally that is going to be 3 Blind Mice or one of your big things from Ondu Spirit Dancer, but also, you know, Knights of the Round makes 2/2 Knights that you can copy. A lot of these make different tokens you can copy. Romana is not just here to enable Mouse Factory shenanigans. She is here because there's a lot of tokens in the deck, and she enables Mouse Factory shenanigans. Finally, War of the Last Alliance lets you find legendary creatures in your deck, so you can go find Barbara Wright. Barbara Wright would be a great commander for this deck. She just doesn't have black or red in her color identity, so you know, we went Mardu. We went with again. What's this though? A new saga in red? It's there and back again. The first two parts of this are pretty mid. Part 1 makes one creature unable to block. Part 2 lets you get a mountain from your library. But Part 3 is where it's at, making Smaug a legendary 6/6 dragon token. And when that leaves the battlefield, you get 14 treasure tokens. That's just good lore. That's just good references to The Hobbit. This deck has sack outlets. A few other non-sagas also make their return. 4 Nox and Lord Skitter's Blessing are great ways to get more card advantage on your upkeeps. Disturbing Mirth is a great way to blow up a cheaper enchantment and put it into your graveyard, but it also is a great thing to sacrifice later since it lets you manifest a card. Manifesting lets you put the top card from your library onto the battlefield as a 2/2 creature, and you can flip it, if it is a creature, by paying its mana cost. That's why having these saga creatures is so important. If you can overlap between enchantment and saga, that's pretty good. It makes manifesting better for this one card. And then all that glitters is just to turn whatever summon you're rocking with the most into just a huge powerhouse, giving them +1/+1 for each enchantment or artifact you control. Now, if you got Smaug out there and he dies and you got 14 treasure tokens, those are artifacts. That's +14/14 because Smaug died. RIP to Smaug, you were a real one. The final enchantment I'm talking about is Ripples of Death, which has you mill 3 cards at the beginning of your upkeep. Then you can pay 1 mana and 3 life to put one of them or more of them, if you pay 1 more mana and 3 more life, into your hand. You probably don't want to do that though, because this is our segue into I need to throw things in the bin. So yes, this is an Enchantress deck, but it also becomes a reanimator deck in that we are trying to reanimate enchantments with Ghen. By milling 3 cards, you could mill Bahamut on turn 2. Then on turn 3, you tap Ghen, and that is a turn 3 Bahamut. Not bad. Entomb is a graveyard tutor, letting you look through your library and find a card and put it in the bin. Buried Alive is another graveyard tutor that's even better, letting you find 3 creatures and putting them into the bin. But wait, we can only reanimate enchantments. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot, because I'm so stupid that the Final Fantasy Saga creatures are also enchantments, and they're creatures. So you can find Bahamut, Knights of the Round, that German one, put them in there, and then they're in your graveyard ready to go. Don't grab the German one, it's too cheap, it's not worth it. Red also gives you access to Faithless Looting, one of my favorite cards, drawing you 2 cards, and then you discard 2 cards. So if you start with Bahamut in your hand, and you're like, how do I get them in the graveyard? You draw 2 cards, and then you discard your 2 biggest sagas, like Bahamut. We're trying to get Bahamut, it'd be funnier. We do have other tutors in here though. Enlightened Tutor puts your favorite enchantment on the top of your library if you do want to just draw into it. Beseech the Mirror lets you tutor for a card with mana value 4 or less. If you sacrifice an enchantment or a token, both of which you should have plenty of, you just put that out onto the battlefield. This is great for grabbing Barbara Wright, who costs 2 mana. It's great for grabbing Court of Arden Vale, which is another enchantment we didn't talk about, but regularly recurs a permanent of mana value 4 or less to the battlefield if you stay the monarch, and to your hand if someone punches you in the face. Metaphorically, in Magic the Gathering, if someone punches you in the face at the table, you should leave and talk to a judge. Not even a magic judge. You should talk to like a legal judge, and that person should go to jail. It's just a game. The rest of the cards in this deck are kind of rehashes from Neva. Good things like Grim Guardian, Mesa Enchantress, Baelmerk Leech, Warehouse Tabby. Just little value pieces for all of your sagas that are going to be leaving the battlefield. Oh, and by the way, did I mention? Neva makes a return. She's great in the 99 of this deck. This is something I really recommend to new players of Magic the Gathering. Start off by making a 1-color deck, then find a 2-color commander you like that has a similar strategy and upgrade to the 2-color, then upgrade to the 3-color off of that. We did a similar thing with Giza the Hellraiser into Crime Boat. So this is us doing that with Neva and then jumping into 3-color with Ghen. I'm not talking about the price on this deck because so many of the cards are so new, and I really do expect the value of them to drop pretty drastically. I think realistically Bahamut settles at $15, although maybe that's unrealistic because Bahamut's not ever going to be in another set, but let me just say Bahamut one more time for the algorithm. Bahamut, we're talking about Final Fantasy cards. This is also a great deck to build around because it kind of gives you an excuse to rip packs if you want to rip packs. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm definitely not saying it's sound financial advice, but if ripping packs is something you enjoy doing, either by yourself or with friends, Final Fantasy is a great set to rip. And you can just keep ripping that set till you find Bahamut, and you'll find other great enchantment creatures along the way you can slide into this deck. I'm basically encouraging gambling. Don't do that. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe for more. We're going to try and make more of these. It might be a little bit slower. We might have our editor, Cade, be working on some other projects, but we'll try to get these out when we can. Join the Patreon to support the channel. It's the best place to do it. And finally, check out Tulok the Barbarian if you like Dungeons & Dragons. We're back to making building character videos. And Tulok and Mango if you want to see me play Night Rain. I'm really enjoying it.